You're listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast with Debbie Sasson, episode 117. Welcome to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Sasson. I went from being a financial advisor, author, and chronic under-earner to building my business to six figures as a financial planner and money mindset coach, and then onto multiple six figures as a full-time money and business coach. I help entrepreneurs create money-making businesses and build wealth using sales and money mindset strategies and in alignment with authentic Jewish values. Now, let's dive in to today's show. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a juicy topic for you. We're going to be speaking about client renewal conversations, because it has been coming up a lot in my Wired for Wealth group coaching program for Jewish women. And if it is coming up for my clients, then I imagine they're not the only ones that are dealing with client renewal conversations. And so I thought that all my listeners would want to hear about them also and hear my thoughts and my approach to renewal conversations. So often those conversations cause dread, angst. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what my client's going to think about me when we get on this conversation. So we're going to dive into renewals today. But before we do that, I want to remind you that on March 6th, I am running a free 2-hour workshop. It is called Meant for More. And I know that if you're here listening to this podcast, you have a big dream inside of you. You're creative, you have a vision, you have something in this world that God has gifted you to do. Some talents, the way you think about people, the way you interact with people, gifts that are God-given that are only yours. And so often we hold ourselves back. And I know as a working mom, as a mom of 8 children, thank the good Lord that I have so many beautiful, healthy children and 16 grandchildren. And it is a lot. I'm not dismissing that one iota. I know what it's like. But we also have so much to give to the world. And depending on where you are in your cycle of life, if you're trying to sort of weave in your gifts while you're bringing up kids, or you're waiting till your youngest goes off to first grade, whatever it is for you. And I've spoken about how I left the Bank of Israel when my baby was less than a year old, and I jumped into the entrepreneurial world. And it took me a while because I was dealing with a bunch of littles at home, and it just was a slower growth path for me. But wherever you are on your journey, I know that the way you think about what you are here in the world to do makes such a difference in how you show up, how you serve. And when you are really thinking and believing that you are meant for more, you're going to show up differently. You will share your gifts differently with the people that God has contracted to work with you. I really believe my clients are divinely contracted to work with me. Hold on to that thought, by the way, because it will be very relevant with the renewal conversations. We don't have to make it a big deal, right? And the way you're thinking is always impacting the way you're feeling, what you're doing and not doing in your business, in your life, and what you create in your world. Your thoughts create your reality. We are always living in these little mini creation cycles where we're thinking thoughts, and what we see in our life is a result of what we have been thinking and feeling all along. So go to my website, debbiesasson.com/meant for more. That's one word, meant for more, and sign up for this 2-hour free workshop. We're going to be talking about how overwhelm and self-sabotage stop you from showing up as the leader that you are, right? We're going to learn how to overcome ourselves, those own boundaries and barriers that we put in place, and really understanding what your gifts are, what the roadmap for your business can be based on your stage of life, and how to stop under-earning. Because so many women, we want to help the world. We have such compassion, such big hearts, but when we give our services away without that energetic exchange of money, we're not asking and receiving the money that respects and reflects the energy that we put into the world, we're under-earning. And we really want to nip that pattern in the bud, change the amount of money you're earning, change the amount of money that you have for your family, for your children and for your future self. That future self that might be 85 years old and she doesn't want to be working. She wants to be playing with her grandkids and having her pension or her retirement account taking care of her. So DebbieSasson.com/meant for more. I look forward to seeing you March 6th. If you can't be there live, sign up. I will send you the replay. All right, my friends, let us talk about renewal conversations. I know that my clients feel this dread. I don't know what I'm going to say. What's she going to think? What if I raise my prices? There are so many thoughts that come up when we're approaching these renewal conversations. So the first thing that is so important for you to do in your business is to do a thought download of all the thoughts that are swimming around in your brain as you approach your renewal conversations with your clients. Now, these types of conversations are particularly relevant for coaches and healers, people who work long-term with their clients. Although if you're a copywriter, for example, and you have a package where you write 10 blogs or you're doing email sequences for your clients, you can also have renewal conversations with your clients how to continue the work. If you are a copywriter and you're writing copy for a website, you might be able to introduce a retainer package to write blog posts or to write other content for your clients. So even if you are not a coach, and about half of my clients are coaches and healers, the other half of my clients are service providers of some dimension, whether it is a website designer, developer, copywriter, computer programmer, developers. My clients are photographers, interior designers, so service providers of different types. And some of the engagements that my clients have with their clients are very defined and very boundaried. For example, if you go out for a photo shoot, then we know when it starts, we know when it finishes, and we know when the photographer delivers the photos to her client. However, you might be thinking, even as a photographer, how can I work on behalf of my client to have a regular sort of engagement, almost like a membership or subscription? Amazon is great at that, right? We have subscriptions on Amazon and everything else. And you might have a family like photo shoot every 3 months or every 6 months where you're going to just get some updated photos. So as I'm talking about renewals, if it doesn't apply specifically to your business as you run your business today, think a little bit outside the box how you actually can take this concept and apply it to your business. All right, so let's just go back to when you are approaching the time, when you have to have this renewal conversation with your client, the way you think about this conversation makes all the difference. I'm going to take the example of a weight loss coach because the result that clients desire is very tangible, like it's a number. I can also use business coach because my clients have numbers that they desire. They want to create their first $5,000 month, their first $10,000 month. They want consistent $10,000 months or their first $100,000 year or $200,000 years, right? Those are very tangible results and it's easy to measure. Whereas a website where you have written an about page or a home page and you're promising, not that you could, but a certain amount of traffic to come to that page and a certain number of sales that would be created as a result of having that website up, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit less tangible. So I'm going to, for the purposes of this episode, keep it to a very tangible conversation because it just helps us to illustrate the point. So let's say, for example, that you are a weight loss coach and you have a 3-month package where you are working with your client and the client had a goal of losing 20 pounds. And we're not going to say that's realistic or not. That was the client's goal. And as you're getting to the last, let's say 2 weeks of your coaching relationship with your client has only lost, let's say 13 pounds, right? 3 weeks, 1 pound a week. That's kind of normal. Maybe her goal was a little bit audacious. Maybe there was something that happened in the middle. She had a family simcha celebration. She didn't keep to her food plan, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And if you as the coach are approaching that conversation thinking that you are a failure because you didn't get your client to her goal, or if your client has already voiced that concern that she's a failure, it's going too slow, or maybe she's plateaued, it's never going to happen, all of those negative thoughts that are roaming around your brain and are roaming around her brain are going to create negative results because our thoughts, as we started off saying, always create the results or, something pretty near in our life and in our business. So you as the service provider, as the supplier, the vendor, you want to notice how you are thinking. Like, I didn't do my job well. My client didn't achieve the result, right? Even if you are writing blog posts for your client and traffic to their website didn't increase because of your blogs, if you're beating yourself up and saying, oh, I'm such a bad copywriter, or my client's never going to hire me again, this is important information that you want to extract from your brain and write it down on paper. And when you write down your thoughts, you can actually become the observer. You can become the watcher of your thoughts. And you can ask yourself, I wonder what happens if I continue to think this thought, right? I wonder what happens if I continue to think that I'm not good enough as a coach, or I'm not good enough as a copywriter. What happens if I continue to think, oh, my client didn't get the results she wanted. She's never going to hire me again. Or think about a renewal conversation where you want to raise your prices, right? Maybe between last year, 2023, and this year, 2024, you raised your prices. And now you're coming up to a renewal conversation and you're dreading telling your client that you raised your prices. And again, you're thinking thoughts, oh no, she's going to think I'm price gouging her. Oh no, she's going to ask for a discount. Oh no, she's going to have thoughts about me and how it's so unfair. And who do I think I am? Again, all of these thoughts swimming in your brain are going to create your results. So get them out of your head and write them down on paper. And then you can start asking yourself if it even makes sense. Now, this was actually very fascinating. I'm going to go back to the example of the weight loss coach whose client wanted to lose 20 pounds, got to the deadline of the engagement and only lost 13. And I remember having this exact conversation with my coach when I was creating maybe in my first $20,000 or $25,000 months. And I thought it was going to take like 4 weeks. It ended up taking 6 weeks. And she's like, yeah, your brain just got the time wrong. And it was sort of like a mind shift, sort of like that, epiphany moment where I'm like, oh, I mean, if it takes me 6 weeks instead of 4, it's my brain got the time wrong. It doesn't have to mean anything about me. And you can be thinking that about your clients. If you're a business coach and your client hasn't made as much money as she wanted, as quickly as she was hoping, her brain just got the time wrong. And the same thing with weight loss. Oh, her brain just got the time wrong. It wasn't realistic, or with everything going on in her life, or the amount of exercise, or the amount of water, or the amount of sleep, whatever, you have in your protocol, her body's just reacting differently and her brain got the time wrong. And when you're approaching it like that, it takes away so much stress, so much dread, and you can be so much lighter about the conversation, and you can approach it without this like, oh my gosh, she's going to think that I'm such a terrible person, that I'm raising my prices, or I want to, renew the contract, because you can really start thinking about your client as that service provider that you are. You're not a price gouger. You're not someone who's trying to steal money from your clients. I know you. Even if you and I have never met, I know you. You have a good, big heart. You want to serve your people so much. It's so important for you. That is who you are. You're not trying to suck money out of them in an evil, devious, slimy way. So you really have to train your brain to think thoughts on purpose. And you need to help your clients think good thoughts. So again, if you're a weight loss coach, help your clients think, oh, my brain got the time wrong, right? We don't have to always think about all the other positives about the weight loss, like my skin looks better, my clothes are fitting better, right? Those are all beautiful. But sometimes that number on the scale, especially for weight loss clients, and it's just like 4 or 5 pounds, that's not even a big deal, but it's one of those thoughts that spins in my brain from time to time, many times. Anyway, but your brain just got the time wrong, and that's not a problem, and that's okay. And you're beautiful, and you're wonderful, and you're a child of God just the same, regardless of whether you lose 13 or 20 or 7 or 27 pounds in a 3-month period. And the same thing for business, regardless of whether you make $5,000 a month, 10, 15, $2,000 a month, it doesn't really matter. Yes, you're here to grow your business. Yes, you're here to provide your services. And your trajectory is so unique to you as a person, as a mom, as someone who has a lot of balls that she's juggling in the air, and you have so much compassion. So the time will make a difference, especially if you're in business and you have bills to pay. But I want you to start thinking different thoughts, and we can train our brain to think differently. So if you are coming up to a renewal conversation, we want to, first of all, start shifting the way we're thinking about that conversation. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I'm here to serve my client. And the results that they achieved during our engagement period, it doesn't really mean anything about me as a coach. It doesn't really mean anything about my client as a client. We just maybe have some more learning to do. Maybe there's some new facts that we didn't understand in the beginning. Okay, so that's number one. That was a big number one, but just understanding what your brain is offering you and changing the thoughts is number one. Number two, if you are attached to signing this client, again, it's important to you. You need to renew this client either because you need this client to help you pay the bills, and newsflash, your clients are not here to pay your bills. Your clients are here to give you an energetic exchange of money for the value that you give them and the results that you help them create in their life or in their business. Your clients do not pay your bills. You get to decide with all the money you have how you're going to pay your bills. But if you're attached to this client to pay your bills, oy vavoy, that is not going to work. We have to learn to become unattached to our clients for both the money that they give us, that they pay us, and also for any sort of self-esteem or validation that they give us as a business owner. You get to believe that you're a business owner and that you're a good one, even if you have 0 clients. I know that's, again, sort of an epiphany, but it doesn't mean anything about you as a business owner if you have a fully booked calendar or if you have 1 client or 2 clients or 0 clients. You still are an authority and an expert in the thing you do at the level that you do it. And you get to validate yourself through your thoughts, right? Your validation and your self-esteem, again, because our thoughts create our results, right? When I'm thinking, yeah, I run a business. I help people. I know how to help people, right? I'm worthy. I'm a child of God. And these are the thoughts that you are thinking about yourself. You don't need to be attached to your clients working with you, signing up the first time, or even renewing and signing up with you for the second or the third or the umpteenth time. Because how you feel inside about yourself as a service provider, whether it's a coach or something else, right? How you feel comes from your thoughts. Yes, when we see our clients' results, it gives us the evidence and it helps us, it encourages us. But you don't need it. Let's let go of that attachment to needing to see their results, needing to have them stay on as our clients in order to feel good about ourselves and validated as a business owner. Okay, so that's number 2, is really you have to become disconnected, detached from this conversation. If you show up to that renewal conversation needy, graspy, needing that client to sign on with you again, you know what it's going to create? Your client is going to run miles because they're going to feel it. They're going to be repelled by your energy. Okay, so notice what you're thinking again and what you're feeling. That's why this thought download or brain dump, whatever you want to call it, is so useful, because our brains are very sneaky and they're very bratty and they give us all sorts of thoughts that are totally useless. They don't help us create the results that we want in our life. So you can also ask yourself, is this thought useful? When I'm thinking that I need it, or I'm thinking that my client should re-sign with me, maybe that's point number 3, right? It's a little bit point 2A. We'll call it point number 3. When you're thinking that your client should renew with you, again, there's that graspiness in there, but shoulding is always a no-no, right? Just remember yourself as a young child. When you're sitting in the classroom and the teacher is telling you, oh, you should have done your homework, or remember getting back on the test, oh, you should do better. You should put in more effort. You should. You just retreat. We sort of shut down. Either you're going to fight back or you're going to retreat into yourself. It is not going to help you when you are shoulding your clients, even in your head, or shoulding yourself in any sort of way in your business. And the same thing if your parents were shoulding you. You should have cleaned your room. You should know better, right? Whoever had that happen in their life? I'm sure we all did. Shoulding doesn't work. The kids might stomp away and right? Just feel very angry about it. And they might slam some drawers, clean up the room a little bit, but it's never with ease. It's never with grace. It's never with a big open heart. So really think about how you're thinking about your clients. They should sign. No, they shouldn't sign, especially if you're thinking these should thoughts in your head. It might be a beautiful thing. We might help them get better results or more long-term results if and when they sign again, but we have to let go of this attachment. One of my coaches said to me several years ago, closings and continuations are equally good. Meaning you close the relationship with a client, it's beautiful, and you continue your relationship with the client. That's beautiful, right? When we can really believe 100% that closings or completions are the same, equal to continuations, right? It lets go of so much stress around the conversation. And then you can get to the end of your package with your client and you can say, this has been a beautiful time together. This is our last session. Let's go through all of the wins. Let's go through how much you have accomplished and let's put together a plan for you going forward. And of course, my door is always open. My Zoom is always open if you want to come back again. But when we let go of the attachment, it's just such a beautiful, fun conversation. All right, point number 4 is the timing of these conversations. Don't wait until the last session that you have with your clients to start talking about renewals. It puts so much pressure. It puts so much dread on you. You're going to show up to the call and wonder, what do I do on this call? Do I have this renewal conversation with her? And what if it doesn't work out? And then I'm going to feel weird and icky for the entire conversation, right? I don't want to waste her time. She's paying me for 12 full sessions. How can I use half an hour of our session to have a renewal conversation? So here's what you want to do. And it depends on how long your engagements are with your clients when you start seeding those conversations. But if you have a 3-month package, for example, about a month before your sessions end, you really want to start dropping hints, planting seeds with your clients like, hey, you've come really far during the time that we've been working together. And I want to talk to you about what happens after the first 3 months. Because you haven't hit your goals, or maybe she did hit her goals. We want maintenance. We want to improve. Let's say you're a business coach and you want to help your clients continue growing in their business. Or if you're a personal trainer and you want to help your clients get to higher levels of, weightlifting, or you want to help them run faster. Just imagine a coach for an Olympic athlete. The coaches don't get their clients the bronze medal, the silver medal, and they'll be like, okay, you guys are good. We're going to still work together for the gold. So even when your clients have made tremendous strides, tremendous achievements, it can be very beneficial if you guys are working well together, you're on the same wavelength, there's a very good working relationship with each other. It just makes so much sense for them to continue getting better results. And if you're in your head thinking about that, it makes sense. Not they have to and not they should, but it makes sense for them for their long-term goals, right? Then you just start dropping hints 4 weeks before they're due to renew or due to finish. And when I say drop hints, I don't mean that in a sleazy, manipulative way. You're going to start seeing the conversations like, hey, we need to have a conversation about what happens next. And depending on the relationship that you have with your client, you can even say, hey, next month we're going to finish. And I think it makes sense to continue, don't you? If you have that kind of relationship with your client, it can just be like, yeah, makes sense. Okay, great. But so often we get that money thing. Let's talk about money objections, right? We're worried what they're going to say about the money. Oh no, it costs so much money, right? And that's where when you're in your brain thinking about the money and thinking about what they're thinking about the money, that's when you trip yourself up. Just like it was valuable for your client to work with you for 3 months, and that was a beautiful exchange of value for money, that doesn't change because you work with your client for another 3 months or another 6 months. There is still a beautiful exchange of value for money, like nothing changed. And just because they got half of the results they wanted, 2/3, 3/4, right? It doesn't mean that just getting a quarter of the results, right? Like sometimes it's the last bit, that last 10 pounds, that gold medal. Like what's the difference between a silver medal and a gold medal? It's like a second or a nanosecond. Like just getting that extra little bit can be so valuable, right? We think that if I've already done 75%, I don't need a coach for the last 25%. And if you're thinking in your head, not from a graspy way, not from a sleazy way, that's wrong. Like really, it's the last 25% that's the hardest. And we know that for a fact. Again, we don't want to show up needing the client or shooting the client, but you have in your head, yeah, of course they got the first 75% of the results easily. They lost that first 13 pounds easily, and we still have 7 to go. It's always the end that's hardest, right? Imagine running a marathon. It's always those last few miles. I can't tell you from experience, I'm not a runner, but you're exhausted after running so many miles. It has to be harder. Maybe you get that runner's high and the euphoria, and that helps you like speed up at the end. I'm never going to know in my lifetime. My knees are just not cut out for marathons, and I'm not disappointed about that. So you really have to think about in your head when you're going to start talking about renewals in a very beautiful, casual way, you knowing that it's always the end that requires a little bit more effort. Always, as I said, the last few miles of the marathon, always the last 10 pounds, right? It makes so much sense for you to continue working with each other. And when you can have those conversations casually and easily, and you can be unattached from the result, I promise you it will make such a difference in your renewal conversations. You're just going to show up and it's going to be so much less dread and angst and stress around the call. It's just going to be a normal conversation like a normal person has with another normal person. All right, my friends, that is what I have for you today. Let's do a quick recap of what we talked about. Is number 1, getting yourself out of your head because your thoughts are going to create your results. Number 2 is not being attached. And number 3 is starting to have those conversations. Like, don't wait for the last minute. Start talking 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks before you're coming up to the end of the engagement to have those renewal conversations. All right. Last thing, let me remind you, on March 6th, there is a free 2-hour workshop because you are meant for more. You have so much inside of you to bring to the world. So go to my website, debbiesasson.com/meant for more and sign up, and I will see you March 6th. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. If you want to stop underselling and under-earning and close more sales, you need to clear the limiting money beliefs that are sabotaging your business growth. Head on over to debbiesasson.com/mindset and download my free Money Mindset Workbook. Uncover and dissolve money blocks like hundreds of other entrepreneurs who are now building 6, multi-6, and 7-figure businesses and creating true financial freedom.